Good afternoon, everyone. Thank y'all for allowing me to be here in this space and share who I am and my story and what these mothers meant to me. I know each one of these mothers. I done been in their corners and they done been in mine. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dion Green. I'm from Dayton, Ohio. I'm just here to speak on the impact of gun violence and what it's having on our families and in our communities. The amount of gun violence we are seeing is scary and senseless. These weapons, these individuals, they're taking our kids and our loved ones at an alarming rate with no remorse. And the impact it leaves behind is a lifetime of trauma and grief. It's like every time we turn the news on or get on social media, there's a life that has been taken, whether it's community violence, police brutality, mass shootings. We're seeing it at an alarming rate. I don't know how y'all feel when y'all turn on and see that, but it makes me mad, and it ramps up my advocacy work even more, and I get more involved in the community and in the state houses in D.C. and I get to fighting. And I know at times I feel like we are not reaching our youth, but I promise we cannot give up on them. I know we can't save them all, but we can save the ones that we can touch. So please don't ever give up on them. They are our futures. So we have to continue pouring into them, because that's what we need to do as a community, as a village. And it's sad because society has become so selfish of not caring what's happening around them, where they don't get involved until they get personally affected. But I'm here to tell you that it can touch anyone, and we're seeing that. We can see it's you can be at a grocery store, you can be at a spa, you can be at a school. We're seeing that. We've been seeing that all over the news, that people are losing their loved ones in places where you wouldn't think violence would even occur at. So it's so crazy. So you're probably wondering why I'm up here and why I'm speaking, and why I have a passion against fighting against gun violence and things like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into my story. I'm probably going, and it's all right to cry, because I probably will cry. So August 4th, 2019, there was a mass shooting that happened in Dayton, Ohio. He killed 9 people that day. One of them was my father. My father died right beside me. I was in the streets with him while the shooter killed my father, his sister in front of me, and numerous other people on the side of me. As I was standing there and he walked past shooting, I did not believe it at first. You know, I'm just thinking I was out having a good time. I didn't think nobody was gonna come and just ruin the night just because they have evil intentions. But as he's doing the shooting, I see my father on the ground. I'm thinking he's just in shock. But then the shooter's sister's in front of me saying, Dion, well, she's not saying my name, but she's been shot, could you call the police? So now I got my phone out, I'm calling the police, but now he's on a rampage killing multiple other people on the streets. So I'm attending to her, I'm tending back to my father, but I'm just thinking my father is just still in shock. Yeah, just still in shock. You couldn't tell me in a million years that was going to be the last time I was going to get to hang out with my father and love him and hold on to him while performing CPR and just yelling, Dad, get up, Dad, get up. Because at first I didn't want to believe it. I just kept saying, get up, we're leaving. But while he was just lying on the ground in shock until the shooter's sister said she'd been shot, it just... I took my camera out on my phone and I shined it on his body. I didn't see no bullet holes at first, so I'm just thinking that I'm just not believing what's happening. So I finally get down on my knees with my camera, with the light on, and I shine it around his shoulders, and I see the blood just coming out of his head and his shoulders. At that moment, I just grabbed onto my dad so tight and just kept telling him I loved him. Because I did not know that was going to be my last moment with him on earth. as the paramedics got there, they break me loose and they send me down to the corner while they perform medics, but I knew my dad has passed, but as they perform their medics, I see they're doing what they're supposed to do, but then once they put the white sheet over him, I just broke loose and ran back to my dad and just fell on the ground and started punching the concrete and just yelling. Not understanding what just happened. Excuse me. And as the weeks went by, I thought my father only got shot one time. For me and my father to be standing side by side when the autopsy report came back, my father was shot 5 times. How did not one bullet touch me? Well, I know why. Grace of God, because he had a bigger mission for me. So my father's name was Derek Fudge. My title is CEO of the Fudge Foundation. Stands for Flourishing Under Distress, Giving Encouragement. Because there's a lot of people that's under distress that are looking for encouragement. And what made me create my foundation is during that whole process when everybody lost their loved ones and was applying for, there's a crime bill called Victims of Crime Compensation. We was getting denied. So should nobody have to lose their loved one and worry how to bury them, but also get the mental health that they need. So me and Senator Peggy Langer, we fought that bill to the death. At first it was Senate Bill 369, but it got drained out because we was fighting stand your ground that whole time in the State House. But December 12th, he finally signed it, and March 1st, Victims of Crime went into effect. March 1st, and it takes all the requirements off. So 3 years, if you have lost a loved one, you can reapply for 3 years and go back. So that was one of the main things that really made me create my foundation. Because the night, if you remember the news, the night of the mass shooting here in Dayton, there was one 5 hours prior in El Paso at the Walmart. So I speak to all of the mass shootings from all over the country. And me and CNN, and we get into it because they always highlight one race. They don't highlight the El Paso, the Hispanics. They're still down there struggling for resources and stuff like that. So if I knew that they were struggling, so it was my goal to fight it here. So I hope Ohio sets the tone, because I'm working on the national level to get it changed across the country. So I hope Ohio sets the tone and it changes all over the country, because people need help. You know, we're seeing people that don't know how to set up their financial burdens and literacy, and they're having GoFundMe. Like, you know, that's going to be one of the topics that I speak about on financial empowerment. But Senate Bill 215, I fought that all the time. You know, me and the governor, we was going back and forth at it all the time on them bills. But sorry, just a little emotional right now. Let me get to what I like to speak on. It's trauma. I'm gonna move to trauma. The impact of trauma that comes along these tragic events are a lifetime of trauma, then and now. In the beginning, my trauma was at an all-time high, emotional, physical, psychological. I was in a space that I've never been in. From night terrors to depressions to anxiety to anger to isolation. I also had survivor's guilt, because I felt like it was my fault that my father died, because I asked him to come up to Dayton and hang out with me that evening. But the things I was feeling was weighing me down mentally and physically. At first, I was against speaking to a therapist, because as a black man, I don't need to speak to someone, I would get better. But I wasn't. So I decided to reach out and start sessions, and I have been going through them for the last almost 3 years. It helped me learn how to cope with my triggers, as she was talking about with stressors, and other coping mechanisms while navigating through my trauma. You know, one thing that I was sharing with with her in the room of when people approach people that have went through trauma, they always say, Dion, I know what you've been through. I lost my father to cancer. In my mind, it's two different losses. But at the same time, I know they're still grieving and still healing. But mine was an act of war in 30 seconds. He killed 9 people in 30 seconds, injured 22, 27. I don't say his name because he don't deserve it. So I just share with people, sometimes the best thing to do is say nothing. Just show your support, show your shoulder, show your love. We know you're there, because people tend to say the wrong thing at the wrong time when somebody has lost someone and don't know what to say. I channel my trauma and just to speak. And at first I started like you. I would get up here and didn't know what to say. Just let my heart just guide it, whether some days I can speak on it, some days I can't. And it's all right. We lost someone. It hurts. I don't care if it's 3 years ago or today. That pain never goes away. All it does is gets bearable. But there's always the moments that it always come back. Just like I was sharing with my sister, between January and March, I'm grounded. I have no losses. My emotional roller coaster, it starts tomorrow, Easter. Because I don't speak on all the trauma I've been through, but the shooting was the only dramatic event I went through in 2019. 40 days prior to that, my house was taken by the tornadoes that hit all through Dayton that made national news. So I made national news twice. The tornadoes and actually being the speaker of the mass shooting. I do a lot of fighting across the country, locally, nationally, speaking with other families, just being boots on ground, being a support, because I know what it takes. I know what other survivors need. And as the one lady that was just speaking, where she said she went to a therapist and she couldn't relate, that is so true. And sometimes us in a certain connection, like I swear when we go on like little, when me and Carla, we all went to California out for one of my sister's anniversaries. It was one of the best grieving moments that I had, because we all lost someone. But so we speaked on it, we shared life, we talked about it, then we cried. But it was a great moment, and I think everybody came back rejuvenated, but there was no looking like what they crying for. Like, we would share who our loved ones was and get to crying and laughing, and it was great. And we tend to fight so much that we don't take care of ourselves. And I know most of these sisters, I stand right beside them, and I know they continue to fight. So we always, like I always tell them, we have to take time for ourselves, because we can't pour into no one if we got an empty cup. I just had to take a breath real quick. Some days I'm good, some days I'm not. But what I really just want to talk about is, well, Latanya was talking about what she was going through, the 5 stages of grief: the denial, the anger, the bargaining, the depression, the acceptance. I was stuck in the bargaining area for a long time, because he attacked my house, he tried to take my family from me while the tornado, then the shooting, and I just kept saying, why me, God? But I don't say that no more. I say, why not me? So I stepped into it, and he just has been leading me all over the country, and just being a shoulder, a heart, a ear to give to other survivors, to help them move forward. But it's also healing for me. We empower each other, in these times, because we all have our moments. So some days when I have my moments, I talk to Carla, or Nair, or Adrian. It's a circle. We didn't ask to be in it. I never thought in a million years I'd be standing in places speaking in D.C., speaking in front of Supreme Courts. Like, you just never know what God has in front of you. And sometimes this pain that sucks sometimes rise the phoenix out the ash if you're willing to do it. You know, I kept blaming everything on God. Why, God? Why this and that? But one thing I have learned from God, that he gave men and women choices. And it was my choice to ask my father to come there, just like it was my choice to come here today and speak. So I quit blaming him. And I just continue to just do his work. And it's draining. Some days I'm good, some days I'm not. And I'm all right with that. But I'm getting better day by day. Some days I move forward, some days I fall back. And it's just rough. But I definitely understand the pain that these mothers are going through. I haven't lost a kid. To them, they're my mothers. That's why I'm always with them. When I'm out, when you ever see them speaking, I'm be the only guy with them. I protect them like I was their son, you know, and shower them with love just as they do me. And I thank every one of y'all that's always just around and just being a support system and just moving forward, because our vulnerability equals strength. And it takes courage to come up here. You know, as I say, when I leave here and get in the car, I don't care how many lives I done changed, how many bills I done changed, my father will not come back. But it's not about me. It's not about my father. It's a bigger picture. It's about what's here now and what we set for the future. And it takes all of us to do that. You know, we gotta put that ego aside. You know, from me working with families, I see where if it's not about their kid, they're not there. If it's not about their kid, they're there. But when it's for the community, they're not around. we got to come stronger than that. We got to show unity. Till they see us all together, that's when they'll start really taking notice, because they're saying, oh, they're not going to stick together. And I get that all the time. If hey, Dion, can you come out here and stand for my family? Yes. Then when it's something for the community, I don't see one, because it's not about theirs. And I hate to tell them that, like, your loved one's gone, my loved one's gone. It's not about us no more. It's a bigger picture. You know, I feel like we need to invest more in our youth and offer them hope. You know, I'm working with juveniles in at-risk programs, and they was testing me so much because so many people will go to them and mentor them, and as soon as they mess up, they leave them. So they would test me, but guess what? I'm right back. I'm right back to them. So it builds that trust, and then they break loose. But, you know, a lot of these kids, they get into a family, and as soon as they do something wrong, they get disparaged. So we have to, and we have to step up and do better. You know, more community engagement. Because a lot of these kids are probably killing their cousins, their friends, you know, and I blame that on us adults. Like, we have to get more involved in the community and let them know who's what and who's who in the community, because I can have a son and he can have a son, and they're arguing, but then when they see us out in the community and seeing us talking, like, oh, you know my dad, like, but it's too late. You know, it's too late, you know. So we have to be better and start uplifting our communities and bringing more engagements and getting these families out here and letting them meet their peers in their communities. And financial literacy, empowerment, you know, teach them how to earn, invest, bring generational wealth. And it might not slow it all the way down, but it give them a chance to move forward and not look to that side and stuff like that. So I just want to continue just to be a brother, be a soldier for God, and just work through him and inspire and touch as many lives, because people don't understand. They say I always touch their life, but they touch mine even more, you know. That's what keeps me going. I wake up some days and don't know what life has in stores, and I just say, God, just lead me to the direction, and he'll just lead me to a path, and I just work and just work it through him. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here because I'm getting a little more emotional. So I'm gonna close with that. Thank you for allowing me to be here, Mario, and thank you. Yeah. As we speak on the gun violence, I do have the first lawsuit in the country against the ammunition company, against the 100-round drums. We haven't said nothing, but my lawyers are the same one on Sandy Hook, and when it comes to ammunition in these gun law places, they are backed up by an abbreviation called PLACA. They tried to get it thrown out due to PLACA, and the judge denied it. So we'll see what the next step is.
Amen. I know that's right.